Hello, Eric Doc Wright here, founder of Vets 2 PM. I'm so excited to bring you this free extra tap class. It's the place where I'm going to help you turn your military leadership experience into a meaningful, lucrative post-service career. Why am I bringing you this extra tap class though? Well, because we've done it hundreds of times with thousands of military veterans. And I believe, working hypothesis, that showing you the TTP, the tools, the techniques, the tips, the tricks, the processes for doing the great things they teach you in TAP class is helpful. Things like write a resume, things like use LinkedIn, things like, hey, find a mentor, things like, hey, quit speaking military, speak civilian, okay? And things like network. All great advice, but not much TTP. This class is that TTP, okay? But why are you going to listen to me about it? Why are you going to spend this portion of your life that you'll never get back to take an extra TAP class? Well, like you, I am a military veteran. 2 services, Navy first, Army Guard, federalized after 9/11. Gulf War Navy guy, okay? I was med boarded out of the first service and injured out of the second service. So I know what it's like to transition from 2 different services, from 2 different eras. And I also have spent over 30 years, that's not just fancy highlighting, I've spent over 30 years in the civilian workforce, hiring and firing at government, at university, in startups, in big Fortune 500 companies, okay? So I'm going to marry that knowledge together. And this is the same knowledge that we've shared with over 12,000 military veterans that we've helped land meaningful, lucrative post-service careers in over 1,100 companies in just 8 years of doing this. Me and my team of retired and or service disabled military veterans or sons and daughters and spouses of military veterans are here to help you do one thing: land a meaningful, lucrative post-service career. So let's dive right in and figure out what we're going to learn over the next little bit. Okay, first learning objective, gang. You have valuable military experience and it translates directly into the civilian workforce, but very few people show you how to translate that experience or that XP. I'm going to show you how to talk about your military experience, running missions, kicking in doors, jumping out of airplanes, doing combat medicine, running DFACs. I'm going to show you how to turn all that stuff into valuable military experience. I'm also going to show you the 2 types of valuable military experience you have so you get full credit in your interviews for that experience. I'm going to show you how to literally certify that experience with credentials that industry seeks. They'll look at your resume, you look like them, you sound like them, you act like them, you're certified like them. They're hiring you to do the jobs that they have for you to do and pay you what you're worth because they understand the value you're bringing. We're going to also show you how they keep score, okay? Because many of you, considering your background, will go into middle or upper level management and or executive leadership. Yes, there's a difference, and that's one of the things we'll cover in this extra TAP class. But what you have to know is out here in the Civ Div, unlike wearing the uniform, it ain't about mission. It's about the money. So how do we measure the money? How do we keep score? Be uncomfortable. You've been uncomfortable before. Stand and watch, get through schools, crawl through mud, like whatever. You've been uncomfortable. Maintain that, power through it. I'm going to show you some specific examples of what I'm talking about and how to do that. The next thing that you'll learn is how to network hard, right? Use LinkedIn, make sure you network. Well, what does that mean to somebody who's never done it? I'm going to show you, give you a couple pointers. And then finally, one of the key things in my humble experience as a project manager, as an executive, as somebody who's worked in mid-level management for the government is facilitate, facilitate, facilitate. This, along with all of the superhero skills you've developed in service, will make you stand out in a crowd and you will get promoted faster. You will get promoted to higher levels. You will get new opportunities because here's what you need to know about the Civ Div or the civilian division, the civilian workforce. The very first thing is not only is it about the money, but it's about winning the pennant, whatever the boss, the C-suite said we're going to do as a company. Okay. So in pursuit of that, How do you facilitate that happening? How do you show those executives that you get what they're after, you understand commander's intent, and you translate it into action, into activity, okay? That's facilitation. We're going to show you that, okay? All right, so I started to unpack this earlier, but why ETC? The reason I bring you this extra tap class for free, gang, and the reason I've been doing that for years is because the reality is the current system is set up, depending on your rank, you're going to go through a couple days, maybe a couple weeks of formal classroom instruction. Just like the event that turned us from civilians into soldier, sailor, airman, or Marine, an event, an immersive event based on an instruction manual, there ought to be the same thing coming out. There ought to be an immersive exit event based on a field manual that we can certify or stamp valid, right? Pin something on to say that we've graduated, okay? That's why the extra TAP class, because the current TAP class is essentially, I'm going to take a tactical vehicle like a Humvee. I'm going to put you in front of an instructor. Maybe they're retired. Maybe they aren't. A lot of times they aren't. They're civilians. No harm, no foul, no disparaging remarks. That's great stuff. I call them patriots, right? They want to help. However, we run you through a 3-day spray paint booth and put yellow paint on a tactical vehicle. And then we tell you and tell everybody hiring you that, you look, everybody, you're a school bus, but you don't operate like a school bus. You haven't had an immersive event to turn you back from a soldier, sailor, airman, Marine back into a civilian or a veteran, a civilian who has served in their workforce. The rules are different. The rules of the road are different. The regulations are different. The speed limits are different. The capacities, the performance capacities and standards of the vehicles are different. I'll let you determine whether you think your results are above standard, standard, or below standard, okay? There's a reason I'm bringing you this class, so you can probably guess what my feeling is, okay? So that's why we're bringing you the extra TAP class, okay? Now, remember that I said you had two kinds of experience. So regardless of where you go, gang, regardless of what job you do next, and regardless whether you go into a for-profit or a non-profit, or you start your own business, or you work for the man or the woman or whatever, the reality is that you are going to work in another organization. Okay, now here's the first realization I want you to have, okay? You have experience that's germane to these folks. You just haven't learned how to talk about it. They don't teach you sales and marketing and self-promotion on your way out of service, and it's not an MOS or an AFSC or a rating, right? Okay, this book, How to Speak Civilian Fluently, I wrote it for veterans. It's free to veterans. You can get your free copy at vets2pm.com/Charlie Mike thank you. All one word, all lowercase, CM thank you. This book literally is the field manual, the instruction manual, the blue jacket manual that you're going to need to acclimate to your new organization. You show up on the new command, they tell you where to draw your gear, they show you where the defect is, you know where the PT field is, like they show you all that stuff so you can get your bearings, right? So that you can get your left, right. This book is that. What does accounting do? What's finance do? What's shipping and receiving do? What does green mean? What is, how do I read a profit and loss statement and a financial statement? And you'll learn why that's important in a couple slides. Okay, that's what this book is. And oh, by the way, you have two kinds of experience, right? As I mentioned earlier, this book, read it once and pass the Institute of Certified Professional Managers Certified Manager exam. You literally now, any experience you have running things, there's management. Management has 4 functions. We'll talk about those in depth in a minute. One of those functions is leadership. So I manage things like inventories and budgets and, meals ready to eat and bullets and armories and DFACs. I manage things and I lead people, essentially in the Civ Div. Okay, that's what management is. Management is synonymous with leadership in your vernacular, but it's different in the Civ Div, and I'm going to show you that difference in this course. However, this book not only helps you acclimate to your next unit, your first civilian gig, but you'll be able to certify your general management experience, running shops, cow shops, jet mechanic shops, tank shops, whatever the shop is that you're running, okay? Armory, all right? So we're literally certifying our management experience, which means all we have to do then is certify our specific technical experience. All right. Now, one of the first things I could tell you is, well, Eric, why does that certified management experience matter? Because when I meet a lot of veterans, and I meet thousands and help thousands a year, a couple things happen. I'm not very good at asking for help. I'll figure it out on my own. I have trouble envisioning what I'm going to be or what I'm going to become next. What's my mission? What's my purpose? Okay. On Friday, before you took the uniform off, you had one. On Monday, when you show up at the Civ Div, you don't have one necessarily. So how do you do that, right? How do you get that sense of mission and the purpose? You're going to be able to determine that by the end of the class. But here's the first thing I would tell you. Or, hey, I only did this for a living. I was a senior chief. I was a master chief. I was an XO. I was a senior non-commissioned officer in charge. I was an officer in charge. I was a navigator, whatever you were. A lot of veterans have trouble seeing how that applies to the civilian workforce. So here is the first light bulb I'm turning on in your currently dark room. And that is, do you have any experience solving complex problems under multiple, probably arbitrary deadlines with a bunch of bosses, a bunch of peers, and through a bunch of subordinates by some certain deadline in the face of multiple rules, regulations, procedures, instructions, SOPs, and customs and courtesies and norms? Do you have that experience? And the answer is, heck yeah, you have that experience. And oh, by the way, if you've ever been downrange or afloat, your experience is out in the wild, okay? Where it's you, your noggin, and some bubble gum and duct tape getting it done, right? Because the answer isn't, no, boss, I can't make that happen, right? So you have relevant experience. Whether I put you at Coca-Cola or PepsiCo or the Department of Army, the Department of Navy, like whatever, they're all large organizations where problems need solved through small teams and or other people in the face of rules, regulations, bosses, goals, tactics, strategies, et cetera. It's all the same. You have valuable experience. Okay, that's management experience. Speaking of leadership and management, remember earlier that I talked about the 4 functions. Now, this is called the theory of business administration or the theory of general management. It's been around for over 100 years. It's been proven in all of the management literature across all industries, across all organizations of lots of different sizes. And here is essentially what a manager does in a civilian workforce. Now, a manager technically is what we call an agent of the organization. They exist to execute organizational objectives, to achieve some organizational outcomes that they're paid to achieve. And typically managers have what we call fiduciary responsibility. Okay, there's your first door prize. You have to know what that means, and you have to know how they keep score. I'm going to show you both. Okay, so in terms of an agent managing an organization or representing an organization to its people and to its customers and to its industry, you perform 4 key functions, and you just lather, rinse, and repeat as necessary. We plan what's going to be done. This includes customs, courtesies, norms. This includes standards. Those standards of performance are called KPIs or key performance indicators, oftentimes in the CivDiv. You plan how we're going to do that. How are we going to know that we're there? What are the phase gates or the check marks or the milestones we're going to pass? You then function 2, organize the resources necessary to execute your plan. Function 3 is you then lead the people in the consumption of the resources that you've organized to execute your plan. And then function 4 is, well, I've got people executing according to a plan, number 1 and 2. Is it working or not? That's controlling. And you know how to do that. Take assessment of where you are, bounce it against where you're supposed to be. If it's unacceptable or you're out of bounds or you're off azimuth or whatever you're doing, take corrective actions to get back on. That's management. Now, a couple nuances. When you get out and you say in your resume, right, because they tell you top scholars, make sure you write a resume. And you say, great, I'm going to write a resume. And you write a resume and it talks about, I led this and I led that and I led this other thing. I'm going to lead your next thing. Okay, two things. First of all, as you can see, leadership is 0.25% of the experience, which means when you get to the interviews and you only talk about leadership, you're only showing them 1/4 of your total experience. So when you get a letter, and you'll be baffled when you get it, I know I've gotten them, that you're underqualified, or we hired somebody more qualified, or they don't even think to be respectful enough to send you a rejection letter. That's why oftentimes they didn't hear the full meal deal. They only heard you talk about leadership. What about your planning? Well, what about your organization skills? What about your corrective action skills? And here's the reality, my veteran brother and sister, you have those in spades, right? Here's the other thing that we do when we talk about lead and lead and lead instead of manage, manage, manage. In the civilian workforce, in the CivDiv, leader means something. It's a title, it's a role, it's the person or the people that are chief X officers, chief executive officer, chief financial officer, chief human resources officer, chief growth officer, whatever the chief X is. These are people that sit atop the organization and come up with the objectives and the strategies and the plans. They do strategic planning, and then it rolls down to operational planning, then it rolls down to tactical planning. That's where you're at, managers, is in tactical and or operational. Okay, so when you say leader, we think, oh, Elon Musk leads Tesla, leads Blue Origin. So when you show up for the interview and you say, hey, I'm here to lead stuff, the person at the reception desk thinks, well, the interview for the leadership position that's open isn't till next Tuesday, and that's down the hall, not here. You see, there's already cognitive dissonance in their mind. They're not squaring up what you're saying with what they're hearing because it means something different to them. So you're a manager, and one of your primary functions is to lead. That means talk about your other 3 buckets of experience as well. Okay. Now, a way that we do this, I call it in my book, provable fluency. The magic trick, the magic in the magic trick is simply this, or the mechanics of the trick are simply this. Think about the things you love to do, or love from your last command, or love from your last rank, or love about your branch, or whatever. Think about what you love to do. Think about what you hate to do. Write them down on a piece of paper, plus and minus, and then list them. Well, Ben Franklin trick, right? Then go look at job descriptions at companies or organizations that only contain the like to do stuff. There's no detailer in Washington in your next career as the CivDiv. It's you're the detailer. So stay away from anything that has the negatives in it, because gang, you're literally volunteering to go do some of the stuff you don't like to do. Look at your job descriptions in companies doing what you like to do. Doesn't even care what the title or the role is called. Then you're going to look at some of the functions. You're going to look at the certifications and the education, all that stuff, the qualifications. You're then going to think about, after this course, you're going to think in terms of management and leadership, and you're going to think in terms of technical X. So I've got general management experience, and I've got project management experience. I got APHR experience. I got whatever. Okay, so if you did welfare and care and for the troops, care and feeding of the troops, that's human resources. If you did missions, start here, go there, do that, go to the range, qualify, certify, go down range, grab bad guys, get bad guys off X's, whatever you did, that's mission. It's temporary, unique stuff. Okay. All right. We also have Security Plus, anything information assurance, anything touching a laptop, anything touching a mainframe, anything touching a system that sends or receives data, right? Okay. That's provable fluency. You're going to learn how to talk about that job or that career at that organization by going to trade organizations' websites, looking at certification manuals. For example, the certified manager, the credential that you'll get if you take the ICPM, you read the book, How to Speak Civilian Fluently. That literally certifies your management experience. Civilians recognize that credential. They understand that you're a general manager, and they can hire you accordingly. Take the Project Management Institute's project management professional or the Agile certified practitioner. I'm sure that you've heard about project management and PMI in your classes. And, you know, the argument in all across LinkedIn that rages is, well, not everybody's a project manager. I get it. That'd be dumb to say that. But I will argue that everybody above a certain rank, usually E5, E6, especially if you're a Marine, has project management experience. You were running missions, even if they were go outside the wire and patrol the perimeter. It's a mission. It starts, it stops, it's temporary, it's unique. Do it through small teams to set performance expectations by certain times with certain resources, whatever. You might as well get credit for all of that project management experience you have, whether you want to be one or not, whether you certify as one or not. You literally are writing down the experience in the terms and the concepts the hiring manager understands. And if I'm certified manager and I'm a human resource professional, or I'm a project manager, or I'm a cybersecurity expert or whatever, in addition to general manager, well, think about the value proposition you bring them now. I hire one person, I get 2 people's worth of work for 1 salary. I look like a freaking hiring superstar to my boss. My raise goes up. My promotion potential goes up. So that's what we're doing here is provable fluency. You're going to look at the job descriptions that you like with the companies that you like. You're going to look at the qualifications. You're going to go to those trade organizations and or those certificates and or those degrees, and you're going to pick out keywords. You're then going to talk about all of your experience in those keywords. You can do that with HR. So, hey, I was the XO. Hey, I was the command master chief. Hey, I was the chief of the boat. I was whatever, right? Top sergeant, like whatever. You're taking care of the troops. That's HR. And then finally, security plus. Okay. So that's where we're at with that. That's called provable fluency. So how does it work? Let's show you a couple examples. Now, these are literally examples that we've helped veterans come up with in those career terms and concepts that they've turned in on their applications to go take their certification exams. So regarding certified manager, right off of an OPR or an EPR or a fit rep or whatever your service calls your performance plan, we led the unit budget of $23 million by redesigning tracking on some program, and it resulted in 3x efficiency. That's not bad, but anybody in that role would have done that. What was the impact in terms of managing for the organization? I'm an agent of the organization. So you could say, I planned the organizational budget and organized $23 million in resources that led to a 3x resources, 3 times the resources, while controlling execution towards the strategic goals set by the CEO. I met commander's intent. That's what you said, but you said it in civilian terms. How about the PMP, the project management professional? So I led the redeployment retrograde. Don't ever say retrograde after you leave the service. We all know it's a project. Civilians don't use that word. They don't know what that means. But you led a retrograde of $5 million in assets, property book, which is called plant property and equipment, or PPE in the Civ Div, by the way. You moved $5 million in wartime assets back CONUS, probably, and created a checklist to reduce man hours by 50% on that project, right? Here's how you say it as a civilian. While planning a unit move, I built a checklist to lead and monitor the movement of $5 million in company materials and reduce downtime by 50%. Measurable results, impact on the organization. You're an agent of the organization, taking care of the organization. It's clear to see. It's in terms that I recognize. This cat must be a project manager. Who knew? APHR. I reported to the CC, the company commander, on unit morale, fact-finding and solving 15 cases per quarter. I was taking care of troops, and 300 unit members served and reported on. Not bad, but what did it do? Why did you do that? I managed 300 organizational members by planning for their health and welfare, ensuring they were trained on organizational norms, and monitored their employee benefits. Taking care of the organization in terms that an HR professional would use. And if you're there for an HR professional interview, you look like them, you sound like them, you're certified like them. That's now we can just move to negotiations, right? Do I want to work here? Do you want me to work here? Let's have a conversation. Much stronger position to be in. Okay, your experience is literally certified. This is your technical experience, your X. Okay, the general management's with the CM. This is the specialized stuff. Security Plus. I spearheaded the unit's digital and computer materials by monitoring breaches in our local area network, or LAN. The minute you say LAN, civilian hiring manager knows that you're probably there for some kind of cyber IT gig. Zero mishaps reported, 100% live computer uptime. So through planning, how would CompTIA say that? How would an IT manager in the CivDiv say that? Through planning, I ensured our company, see planning, there's that management function. I ensured our company had a secure LAN and VPN. You're taking care of organizational assets because you're a good organizational agent. You're a steward of the resources by organizing existing assets in an optimized network and monitored external connections to keep employees connected with 0% downtime. Oh, did more with less. Company stayed in the fight. Cool. This person's taking care of the organization. See that? And that's where sometimes people go wrong too, is when you're not talking in terms of taking care of the organization. It's like, hey, when I grow up, I want to be this and I want to work here and I want to do this. Nobody cares. They're hiring you to help the company do whatever it's trying to do. It's about the organization. Now, if your functional manager is any good, if your project manager is any good, if the person that you work for is worth their weight in salt at all, they will take care of you. That's good management and leadership, as you already know from your own careers. In the CivDiv, though, just remember, they're not formally trained on how to manage and lead. They read books, they go to workshops, maybe. You get a good manager who's good at leading, that's voluntarily. They've learned how to do that, okay? So take care of them. All right. Now, remember that I said in the civilian workforce, the CivDiv, it's not about mission. It's about the money. It's about winning pennants, winning trophies, right? Winning the games. Okay, being number one after the season or the quarter or the whatever. Okay, so the way that they do that is through what we call a P&L. In the interviews, in the job description, you may see or hear fiduciary responsibility or manager or agent or whatever. That means you're in the organization responsible for the P&L, or the profit and loss statement. So here is a couple things you need to understand about this in case you're interviewing for a gig where you have fiduciary responsibility, and you probably will, depending on your rank. At the top of this financial statement, it's one of the 4 primary financial statements companies use or generate, even nonprofits. Nonprofit, inaccurately, gang, by a lot of people is deemed to be some kind of special unicorn thing. It's simply a tax status by the IRS. If you're a for-profit company, you're taxed. Your profits are taxed. If you're a non-profit company, you get donations. They're still dollars, right? Dollars profit, dollars donations, but they're not taxed because they're donations. Okay? The person that provided them to you gets a tax break. It's just a tax status. It's still an organization that still needs to meet mission and provide goods and services. Okay? So at the top of the statement, what you see, a P&L statement is what we call it. Some people call it an income statement because it is an income statement. But we call it P&L. And here's why. At the top is everything you sold, all the dollars you generated selling stuff, minus in the middle, your expenses, cost of goods sold and expenses. So we take everything we sold minus everything it took us to sell that. And at the bottom, see down here, the net income. At the net income, if it's positive, we made money, we made income, we have a profit. And if it's negative, we lost money, we took a loss, or it's a loss statement, okay? So we didn't make any money, we didn't make any income, we lost income. Then we do one final calculation. We turn the dollar amount into a percentage, a net profit margin. That tells us if we're growing or if we're any good or not at what we do and how we do it. Are we making any money? That is essentially the scoreboard for how you, your performance, your project, your people, your teams under your management and leadership will be evaluated. Be able to point to this thing and talk about what impact you made on that organization. Okay. All right. Now, I also want you've created an ability to be uncomfortable and accomplish things. I want you to stay uncomfortable. Here's what I mean. A couple things, three things. The first is stay curious, maintain that curiosity you had, but you're going to be uncomfortable because it means you have to ask questions. If the accountant has you doing something on the project with cost accounting and you don't know what that means or how to spell that, you need to ask her or him what they mean and what they want you to do. Don't suffer in silence and try and figure it out like you used to and break something. Just ask them, hey, I'd love to take you out for a cup of coffee. I'd love to take you for lunch or whatever. Like I've accounted for resources on projects before because you were metering out bullets, beans, and Band-Aids and MREs and whatever. But you don't know how to do cost accounting in the CivDiv. And the reality is USAA does cost accounting different than Coca-Cola, who does cost accounting different than Microsoft, who does cost accounting different than Ford. Okay, so it's not uncommon to have to ask questions about, hey, on your projects at this joint, how do you do cost accounting? Okay, so you have to get comfortable asking questions. Don't just go break stuff and suffer in silence. You have to also get uncomfortable or stay uncomfortable talking about yourself. Now, look, every hiring manager out there knows that in your performance evaluation, in your interview, I know that everything you did through a team. You don't have to tell me. It's an assumption, right? Nobody is an island, okay? There's an ocean in between us, but the ocean connects all the islands. Okay. Learn to talk about how your contributions helped the team achieve the objective, save the money, make the money, grow the revenue, save expenses, which grows the profit on the bottom line. That's what they call that income or that loss on the bottom line of the P&L. So that's what civilians mean when they say the bottom line. They're talking about that financial statement, the income statement, and they're talking about the profit and loss. Okay. You have to get comfortable talking about yourself and your contributions on LinkedIn, your profile, talking about yourself in interviews, talking about yourself in performance and promotion conversations, okay? So talk in terms of what you accomplished and how it affected the P&L and the strategy and whatever, okay? All right, and then, network. Now, network can mean a couple things. It can mean find mentors. Well, in what industry? Who do I look for? How do I find them? The TTP, it's lacking in most TAP classes. Now it's not. I'm giving you the extra TAP class. Use LinkedIn. Well, what does that mean, right? Like network on LinkedIn. What does that mean? Where do I even find that? Oh, it's an app. What's an app? Okay. And then how do you network at events? So let's take LinkedIn first. Okay. On LinkedIn, your LinkedIn profile, you're going to go to linkedin.com. You're going to create a profile. On the profile, it's going to have a picture. Put a headshot in there, smiling, no sunglasses, close up, like let them see your face, nice and warm, sparkling eyes, right? That's called the Duchenne smile, where it's wrinkling your eyes there. You want them to see you as human, as part of the team, as somebody they can connect with, okay? Put a nice little tagline. For example, I'm a veteran, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm an author who helps military veterans achieve meaningful, lucrative post-service careers. You know exactly who I am. You know exactly what I do. And if you don't need any of those things, you won't connect with me because I can't help you. If you do, you'll connect with me because I can help you. And then we can do a solution selling relationship where I help you and you help me. And like everybody's fat, dumb, and happy. Okay. All right. So that's your tagline. Also, interest, skills. Many studies have shown that employers more and more every day are hiring for skills and potential for upskilling and reskilling you than they are for other credentials, such as a 3, 4, 8, 10, 15 years worth of education. Certificates demonstrate a minimum level of skills. Like if you come to me in your E4, you're to O2 or whatever, like I know what your minimum level of capability is because I understand how you were trained. I understand what you were trained to do, okay, from an organizational standpoint. Okay, so that's LinkedIn. The one trick I would tell you is make sure that your about section, like your resume's in third person. Eric did this, Eric did that. You're like Jimmy on Seinfeld, right? Jimmy made the shot, Jimmy made the good pass, whatever. Anyhow, I digress. In your LinkedIn profile, you want to be first person. I did this, I did that. I can't wait to talk with you, whatever. It's a conversation starter. You want them to feel like they're in a conversation with you. We all know you wrote your LinkedIn profile. Why are you talking in third person? Be first person. Okay. All right. And then when you use LinkedIn to network, again, you're looking for industries, you're looking for companies that have all the I like stuff and don't have the I don't like stuff in them, right? Remember the thought exercise we did a couple slides back? Okay. You're connecting with mid-level to senior level people in those organizations, and you're jotting a line to them. You're seeing something. Hey, we both went to the Ohio State, or we both went to Florida State, or whatever we did. Or I see you're the coach of your kid's little league team, or whatever. I am too. Would love to connect with you. Da da da. And over the series of a couple messages, hey, would love to get 20 minutes of your time, or whatever. Not post one, looking for a job. We know that you're on LinkedIn. You're looking for something to buy. You're looking for a job. You're looking for a new job. You're looking to hire somebody for a job you have open. We know why you're there. But it's about forming a relationship first, gang. Okay. I need to get your phone number so that I can call you so that we can go to dinner. So that when we go to dinner, we can have a second date. Like it's a progression. Okay. All right. LinkedIn gets them to get your resume. Resume gets them to give you an interview. Interview gets them to give you a job, right? Like if you're performing. Okay. So that's essentials on LinkedIn. Okay. That helps you find mentors. That solves that question of, hey, find a mentor. Hey, find an industry. If you just want to do blunt force, you can go to Veterati. You can go to ACP, right? American Corporate Partners. I mean, there's all kinds of places out there where you can get mentored. If you're project manager, you can go to the Veteran Project Manager Mentor Alliance, a 501c3 that I founded for veteran project managers. There's all kinds of places you can find mentors, but where do I find a mentor? Get a mentor. I would encourage you to have more than one. And now you know the easy technique to find more than one. Find the companies, find the industries you like, reach out to people, those that seem to have prior experience or experience that you want in your future or whatever, those people that can help you, reach out to them. It's called social media. Be social, ask people questions, ask them their opinion. They'll probably tell you. Okay. All right. So that's that. And then networking at events. You're looking, remember that you used trade organizations, trade journals to find out like what handbooks you should be reading, what, credentials you should be chasing, what degrees should you be taking. Go find organizations that do that. An organization of accountants or of salespeople or of project managers or of human resource professionals, whatever. Go to those events. There's mentors there. There's potential relationships there. There's potential employers there. Okay. Go to events that are put on by organizations in the space or the industry that you want to be in. Couple tactical networking tips. You can network at the open or the cash bar line with people around you. Do not stop and network people trying to get to or coming from having a drink. They're getting a drink. Likewise, don't stand by the food line or the restroom and hit people going into the food line or the restroom or coming out of the food line or the restroom. They've got other things on their mind besides networking with you. Catch them standing at the table, having their food and their drink, right? Catch them at the open cash or the open bar or the cash bar as you're standing there in line networking, okay? If, wear a scarf or a pocket square in your suit or notice that they're wearing one or whatever, just start conversations like that, okay? And then as quickly as you can, what do you do? Okay, a lot of people, their identity is based on what they do. What do you do? Who do you do that for? Who does that help? What got you into that? How long have you been doing that? How did you prepare to do that? These are all very genuine, authentic questions. You care about that person's answer, but those are all the questions you're going to need to answer to get into that field or that industry or that profession or whatever. Okay. All right. So that's the networking, using the tool LinkedIn and using the ambiguous or the amorphous or the kind of high level, find a mentor and find an industry and network at an event. Okay. All right. And then the final slide, gang, before you get out of here is Facilitate, facilitate, facilitate. Coming from an old Navy welder, okay, who's been in boardrooms and been on billion-dollar projects he probably had no business on, I always voluntarily gravitate towards the whiteboard you see here, or gravitate towards the butcher block paper, the pad that you see down the room there a little bit with the markers. You get good at summarizing succinctly and concisely and cogently what we're talking about, what decisions need to be made, summarizing, asking open-ended questions, summarizing with closed-in questions or statements, writing it all down on the whiteboard, using different colors. A lot of people are visual critters. They see patterns, they recognize patterns. Get good at facilitating with active listening, the art of questioning, whiteboarding on whiteboards. And this has netted me several promotions over the years, several bigger projects, several courses, several networking events. Okay, I speak all over the country, and this is what I do. I just literally facilitate learning events for the audiences that I'm teaching. So gang, what is your call to action? What's the pipe to action for us Navy? Okay. Check us out on vets2pm.com. Go get your free copy of How to Speak Civilian Fluently. Read it. That gives you a leg up in your interviews. If you want to certify your general management experience for your resumes, download the book, CM Thank You. Speaking of resumes, when you're at vets2pm.com, make sure you click the free resources button as well. We've got a course on how to build a resume. We've got a course on how to fill out your PMP application. We've got a course on how to network. We've got courses on how to build a LinkedIn profile. We got courses on all kinds of stuff. It's free to you. Okay. All right. Check out some different certifications that we specialize in. We specialize in white collar jobs. That's at vets2pm.com training. Okay. And then finally, go ahead and connect with me on LinkedIn, Doc Wright 2012, linkedin.com. And we can start a relationship over LinkedIn. And I can show you how to use it and how to engage and how to like and comment and grow your followers and grow your subscribers and your connections, okay? Stuff that can help you network and find a meaningful, lucrative post-service career. Why? Because that's all I and my team do. In 8 years, we've helped over 12,000 of you land in over 1,100 companies, and we're still at it hard and fast and steady, right? That's all we do, okay? So we look forward to talking to you. Thanks for watching the course. When you get the book, make sure you leave me an Amazon review. You can do it anonymously. Leave me an Amazon review. Tell folks about us in your TAPS class, okay? And if you ever need anything, just reach out. You're why we exist. Cheers.